What of these two things are the same? Rewrite of a Sesame Street song. What do these two people have in common? Well, they rant and rave into a microphone, need to be the center of attention as if they were spoiled as children, and seem to have the IQ of a small child, no more than 5, yet display the rantings of the terrible twos. What other than socialism makes these two alike? If you're not familiar with communism, fascism, then you do not know that they are both socialist. Nazi means the National Socialist Party, which was the National Socialist Party of Germany. National meaning Germany, not meaning fascism. Unfortunately, our schools are not teaching the history of communism and fascism and what these words mean, because they're all run by socialists. Russia was the USSR, United Soviet Socialist. It was the union of nations that are all socialist. Simple as that. Yes, again, this new generation is screaming for socialism, and nobody remembers what socialism is, and that it has never, ever, ever worked, not even in Chile. It is the party of revolution, war, firing squads, starvation, bread lines, re-education camps, and shooting everyone who will not get brainwashed into accepting socialism. Yes, Bill Ayers said that's exactly what we have to do in this country. Bill Ayers, the good friend of Barack and Michelle Obama. He said we have to go to re-education camps, and we know the ones that will not get brainwashed into our way of thinking, so we will have to kill about 25 million people. But that was back in the 60s, so it's going to be about 150 million by now. Okay, this is how dangerous this is that's going on in this nation. Wake up, people. Michelle Obama is going to be our next president, and boy, you're going to be scared. Yes, these two, primarily meaning Ocasio-Cortez, Hitler, and even Bernie, has several things in common with Hitler. It was these two, particularly imbecile Alexsandria, Ocasio-Cortez, and Hitler, have several things in common. Hitler was a big environmentalist, emphasis on the mental for both imbecility as well. Hitler Youth, they called them, would go out and appreciate nature, conserve and save nature and wildlife. And Hitler, just like imbecilita Ocasio-Cortez, are vegans and don't drink alcohol, but Ocasio-Cortez prefers smoking dope at a very young age, which I hear stunts the growth of your brain, which explains a lot. But anyway, there are some famous photos of Adolf and Eva, his wife, at Berchtesgaden, passed out, not drunk, but because their blood sugar dropped from eating vegan diets. Now, he didn't eat beans either. There's nothing to stabilize that diet there. And I hear Ocasio-Cortez likes her peanut butter in the morning. That certainly sits with her all day, so she's nice and stable. Okay, that 1,156-page rant Ocasio-Cortez did into a recorder for 5 days straight and made her secretary type it out without any edits or corrections is the result of low blood sugar again, and a mind that has been deformed by smoking pot at the age of 9, possibly 8. Little brain was still growing, and I think stopped growing. Both vegan, both insane about the environment. Funny, isn't it? If only Hitler gnawed on a leg of lamb and had a glass of scotch, World War II would have never happened. That is good advice for Ms. Cortez, too. Taking names of Democrats who do not vote in lockstep and vote with the Republicans, possibly to save the nation. Name names. That is what they do in socialist countries. Famous line. He named names of people who refused to go along with the socialism were shot. Naming names. It occurred in Mao Zedong's China, Hitler's Nazi Germany, Stalin and Lenin and Marxist Russia, Pol Pot's Cambodia, Venezuela, oh, of course, Cuba, Fidel Castro, who hates black people and throws them all in jail, and the homosexuals were all killed, as well as that beautiful Che Guevara. He shot all the homosexuals because he hated them. And any other socialist country that has ever been on the planet. What is this utopia that they speak about that has never been applied correctly? But somehow Cortez, who doesn't eat for a living and has nothing but sugar in his veins, is going to apply socialism correctly with her $93 trillion makeover of America. And I hear, taking all those buildings down and creating all that waste, we're just going to have to shoot it in outer space. Then it's going to come back to us as an asteroid and wipe the entire Earth out, which, you know what, will kill the flippin' environment if you care about the environment, because that's exactly what's going to happen, because you can't bury all that. You got to shoot it into space. So goes the Earth. Great idea, Cortez. Now, great idea. On with the show.
Hello, everybody. When I was younger, because most of my family were Democrats, little did they know that they were considered half black in the South. Well, there was an old friend of the family, Italian, and she signed me up with the Democrat Party to work for the Democrat Party, and I was just a kid. I started working for them, just handing out flyers, doing things, and when there was an election coming up, they always called me. Remember, I got this call to work on a campaign of a prominent female Democrat, and the person was talking to me, and she was getting kind of a little hysterical. She was going, you know, the Republicans, you know how they vote in lockstep. And I thought that was really interesting, because it's the Republicans that always break away, you know, the never Trumpers, or they're the ones who don't vote in lockstep. They don't stand behind the candidate 100%. It's the Democrats that vote in lockstep, because the Democrat Party is the KKK, which is the terrorist arm of the Democrat Party. It was very socialistic back then. And the idea that Hitler took came from Jim Crow South, on how to segregate people and enact laws against a group of people that you consider inferior. So it's really the Democrats that vote in lockstep. And we've got this Ocasio-Cortez person who I've compared to Evita Peron in that last documentary that I made. And Evita Peron herself was, if you read her biography that she wrote herself, it's like somebody in 4th or 5th grade wrote it. But when she spoke on a microphone, she was an actress for a certain period of time. She was I think she was a little bit smoother than Ocasio-Cortez, but she was very loud, full of fire, and was quite childish in many ways, like Ocasio-Cortez. And I would bet my bottom dollar that Ocasio-Cortez is patterning herself after Evita Peron. Both child mentality. Apparently the other day, Ocasio-Cortez said something very interesting, because she got all angry. You know, she sounds like a child. And the other day she said, I'm the boss. I'm the boss, because she wrote that 1,106 paged new Soylent Green deal that's going to cost $93 trillion and create so much waste we're going to have to shoot it off into space because there's no landfill to put it in. Okay, so she was probably ranting for a few days, and she had her little recorder on. See, what they do is, these are working law office, they record, and then they give the recording to the secretary or the paralegal, and we listen and we type it up. That's how it's done. So she probably ranted on end for a few days. That's why the thing sounds like it was written by a fourth grader, and it's totally impossible. So she, in her mind, she's the boss because she wrote something, because she's doing something about it. I could have written a better deal if I took my hand and slapped it on a piece of paper and used different color crayons to do each finger. That would have made more sense and would have been more sensible than her Green New Deal. So she's the boss because she wrote something. Well, anybody else could write something better than that. But first of all, we really need to prove that global warming is real and not a hoax. Because remember the leaked emails several years ago from England, which stated it was a hoax. It's a hoax. It came out. But like Joseph Goebbels, the minister of propaganda from Adolf Hitler, we always have to go back to Hitler, because basically the Democratic Party is always using the tactics of Hitler, which is amazing. And Nazism is socialism. If you repeat a lie often enough, a big enough lie often enough, people will believe it. For a while there, people stopped believing in global warming. They didn't know what to do. They changed it to climate change, and they kept repeating the lie. They kept repeating the lie. They wouldn't drop it, even though it was proved as a hoax. And Art Bell, as I said in my documentary, is reading the newspaper, the headlines, the UN proposes taxing the West to give the money to third world countries. And what's happening? We're taxed, we're regulated, we're burning clean, we're recycling. The third world, also including Russia though, is burning, building all those coal-fired power plants. And if you live in Delhi, it's like smoking 50 cigarettes a day. They're getting off. There's no regulations, and China is polluting its waters because there's no rules on pollution either from the chemicals that come out of the factories. So they're totally destroying the environment. The UN is allowing this, but nobody went for that in 1998, just taxing the West. So they made up, oh, the environment. Oh my God, you're going to hurt the environment? Everybody loves the environment. Nobody likes pollution. First thing you think of is pollution. The animals, the nature, the beauty of the world. And now we've got the windmills. You got to see the other documentary. I can't repeat the whole thing. But anyway, so she's the boss. I'm the boss. I'm the boss now. Everybody's... What does she look like? She looks like a third or fourth grader or a 2-year-old going through the terrible twos. And just because she ranted, so she didn't write it. Somebody else typed it up. She ranted for like 3 or 4 days straight. And they had to type that thing up. You're the boss because you ranted? Probably while you were PMSing? Really? And we're going to destroy the entire country, cost us $93 trillion, and create so much waste, we're going to have to shoot it off into space. Really? Really? You're the boss? I'd like to say I was the boss because I would like to say that because I do have better ideas than she does. But the other day, she told the Democrats if they don't vote in a block, if they don't vote all the same, and if they vote with the Republicans, she's going to take names. What does that sound like? What does that remind you of? What did I put in my documentary? Chairman Mao, Mao Zedong. It was about naming names, taking names of people. You see, in these communist countries, you're supposed to spy on your neighbor. Everybody spies on everyone. They take names and then they go report them to the government, which is communism, and that is socialism. And those people are dragged out of their houses and they're shot or they're sent to some kind of concentration camp. She is taking names. She is sounding like, Kim Jong-un. He's like a kid. He went to college, but he's like a kid who got power. And he killed his uncle by firing squad. He killed his half-brother at the airport. Apparently, 2 women shot poison in his eyes or something like that. And his firing squads, he kills people in front of, before sporting events. They have active concentration camps where you're punished up to the third. 3 generations ago, somebody in your family didn't like the Kim regime, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un. Okay, if 3 generations ago you didn't like the Kim regime, you are punished for what 3 generations did in a concentration camp. And they get dogs that are the dogs that they don't eat, because they eat dogs in those countries, by the way, and they eat them, they beat them to death because they think that the meat tastes better. If the dog suffers, the more the dog suffers, the better the meat tastes. That's what they do in those countries. But some dogs, they just starve, and then they just throw a prisoner from a concentration camp in. All you have to do is disagree with the leader. It's a communist regime. And the leader is very childlike, like Ocasio-Cortez. And so when you've got a leader that's got the mentality of a child, you've got some really crazy concentration camp shit going on. So they throw the prisoner in the pen with the wild dogs and you get ripped apart. And like in China, they punch you into the stomach until you have an abortion. So they're pro-abortion in China and in North Korea, and they will give you an abortion without having to violate you vaginally. They just punch you in the stomach. And it's, let's see, Ocasio-Cortez, naming names. We've got to the scary part of the show when she's talking like Chairman Mao, who told his Red Guard to take names. In communist Russia, that's what they did. They took names. They named names. And when you are one of those names, they either take you to the gulag, throw in you Siberia, which you suffer and work to death and die in the cold, starve to death. And they had that wall called the Iron Curtain, which kept people in, but it didn't keep Bernie Sanders out. Bernie Sanders is coming out more and more like a socialist. And I've mentioned this before, maybe about 1.5 years ago in my videos, how he honeymooned in the Soviet Union, but people didn't watch those videos. And he thought bread lines were good because people were getting food. I mean, this man is actually insane, because bread lines, in a socialist country, they only make so much of everything. The government runs everything. It's in government control of your entire life. People who live in this country and think that these freedoms will just remain, but somehow everybody's just going to get paid whether they work or not, you can't put the two together. You think these freedoms are going to stay, but you're going to vote in a party who's got a child as the leader, who is having a tantrum like a 2-year-old, PMSing. You're going to put this person in power and have the government grow so big that they're going to control everything. There's going to be no creativity. There's going to be nothing better. There's going to be no technology. And you're going to be taxed between 75 and 90%. What's the point of growing a business? What's the point of having a business, letting it flourish, having employees that you pay? Because when you have a business, you pay employees. What is the point? No, the government will run absolutely everything. It's the biggest intrusion on your private life. Everybody's yelling and screaming about their individuality, their uniqueness, their gender. But when you have a socialist system, they come into your life and control everything you do, every drop of water you drink. And they're ready to put you before firing squads. Che Guevara, that's what he did. He was a mass murderer. Oh, but the communist revolutionaries will tell you, oh, that's good because you had to kill off the people who thought like Western countries. And it's America's the reason why that these people are dying and suffering. No, it's the socialists, the communists that are running this country, or these countries that are doing this. In Venezuela, which Hugo Chavez turned it socialist, it used to be the most prosperous country in South America. They took all the guns away from the people because that's what they do in a socialist nation. And now they're shooting. You see, the government is the only people that have the guns, and the people are starving. So they're shooting the people because aid is coming into this country and food, and the government and the army, it's all about the revolution and the army. And that's the government. They have all the guns and they're killing the people that are starving. This is socialism. You think that it's going to work. Ocasio-Cortez, oh, if it's a plot. She's going to apply this correctly. She was a spoiled brat. Her parents are wealthy. Her grandparents were wealthy. Her father was an architect. I don't know how she graduated, but I bet she bought that degree. No way. She's the one who's going to implement socialism correctly this time. And I hear people, some socialists I have listened, like Bernie supporters that I have listened to, who can make a good case in some areas, but then they back Ocasio-Cortez. And Bernie didn't sound so crazy. He was just this nice old man. And people say, oh no, I didn't vote for Hillary. I'm a Bernie voter. Oh, and then both the Republicans and the Democrats will say, oh yes, you sweet little Bernie voter, and try to entice them over to their side. But Bernie cheered when Fidel Castro took over Cuba. Oh, it was the poor people that rose up. No, that isn't what happened. Everybody became poor. And the Castros are racist, and they're white, and they imprison the black people. There's a huge racial divide in Cuba. It's all about racism. It's all about bad health care, because the hospitals are the schools. After the children leave the schools, that's where then you go see the doctor. It's really bad health care. He got his doctors from France, and yet he told everyone that Cuba had the best health care in the world. Oh yes, and he shot all the homosexuals, and so did Che Guevara. See, Che Guevara did that first. He killed all the homosexuals. He hates homosexuals. So you people wearing those really cool, handsome Che Guevara shirts, you're wearing a person who shot all the homosexuals and is a crazy racist. The Castros, Che Guevara, they're racist. I know a lot of Cubans that have left Cuba with their lives that were black Cubans. They got out of there and they came here and they became Republican because they know the Democratic Party, is communistic and sides with Castro. No. If there's a socialism that exists that we don't know about, that's not written in any books and has never been applied, then you better tell us about it, because I don't know about that social. But there's only one kind of socialism, which is communism. And it's been applied over and over and over again in everyone's lifetime. Everyone, your lifetime, your parents' lifetime, your grandparents' lifetime, have seen communism. And did America make the Soviet Union do what they did to their people and have an iron curtain and keep them in like prisoners? Was it America that... See, socialists will always tell you that America made these people suffer around the world. That's the reason why socialism doesn't work, because of America. But you know, America fought with Russia in World War II. Even though they were communists, they fought against Hitler in World War II. So we were friendly with them and we didn't take anything from them, but they did what they did to their people on their own. The Kim family did what they did to their people on their own. Pol Pot did what he did to his people on his own because he wanted to kill off anybody who wanted to be like the West, who wanted to implement the freedoms of America. He just killed them off. And my ex-boyfriend, the communist revolutionary, said, well, he had to do it. He had to kill off the people who you couldn't change. And let's get back to Bill Ayers, who Barack Obama started his campaign in his living room. Bill Ayers of the Weather Underground, who bombed buildings during Vietnam War, government buildings. They say, oh, he didn't kill any people. The hippies who built the bombs got killed. He said, and it's on tape, and this was a long time ago, when we had a much smaller country, 25 million people needed to be killed. You will have to, by firing squad, 25 million people, because we're going to send everybody to re-education camps. And there are some people that are going to hold on to the freedoms and the ideals that America was founded on. And those people you have to kill. So if you think for a second, and this is the Barack Obama and the Michelle Obama who's going to be running for president, associated and is friends with Bill Ayers, who thinks like this, who divided Barack Obama, divided the country, broke us up into groups, and then turned against all the white people, whether they owned slaves or not, got everybody hating each other. If you think that he is a nice guy or socialism is nice, no. This is what socialism is. If they can't change you by a re-education camp, and they know who they can't change, you know how they know? They name names, just like Ocasio-Cortez said. You name names. Remember in the episode of Seinfeld when Elaine dated the communist and she thought it was all cool, and he wanted to order from Hop Sings because his father, when nobody would give him food because he was a communist, ordered from Hop Sings, and Hop Sing, because you know China is communist, you had to order from Hop Sings. And as it turned out, they found out that George was ordering from Hop Sings, and Hop Sings didn't like George, and they found out, Hop Sings found out that it was George, because how did you find out? They name names. They name names. They name names. See, that comes from Mao's communist regime. People name names in communist country of people who do not vote in lockstep with the communist government. You name names. That's how you know who is not thinking. Like Mao's 100 flowers. As I said in my other video, that's how he found out who of the elite was for him or against him, was for communism or against him. He had them all come up and he said, tell me how you think I should run this country. And they told him. That's how he found out that, in fact, none of them were on his side. They were all against communism. And so he shot them all. It's about naming names, and she wants to take names and publicize, and she wants to sick her goon squad, the people who riot in the street and bully people. She wants to sick those people on the Democrats that vote for Republicans. That is a communist tactic. That's what Mao's Red Guard did, and the brown shirts, and the black shirts, and the Red Army, and the Khmer Rouge. You sick the goons, and the KKK. The Democrat Party's KKK, the terrorist arm of the Democrat Party. You sick the goon squad on the people who don't vote in lockstep with the Communist Party, which unfortunately I think the Democrat Party has already switched to. She has her gangs. She, as stupid and imbecilic as she sounds, she is connected to Antifa and all these other gangs that are against America, who hate America and are communists. Antifa is openly communist. And she is the leader. And she said she's going to sick them on these Democrats. Name names. Who are Democrats and not voting in lockstep. And once they get full power, which will be very soon because that border is open, and in 5 years Texas will turn Democrat because people will come of age that have migrated here illegally. And we will lose Texas. Plus, people are leaving California, moving to Texas because the taxes are so high. It's Democrat rule. It's crazy. But they're bringing their Democrat vote to Texas. So Texas and Florida and a few other states, which were red, are turning blue. The word has to get out. People have to see what's happening. If you're fleeing your state because it's crazy Democrat rule, don't bring it to the new state. Florida has been run by Republicans for many years. Florida has no estate tax and has no income tax. New York City is bleeding billionaires because they highly tax the billionaires, so they left the state. Now Cuomo says we have to get those billionaires back. Since New York City, New York State, is open for illegal aliens and immigrants, it's all lots of people on the dole, they have twice the budget as Florida. Florida has half the and is taking in more tax revenue than New York City because New York City has high taxes, people leave the state, and they've got all these people on the dole. That's a Democrat-run state. It doesn't work. That's a state that's turning completely socialist. It doesn't work. And now Cuomo's trying to bring the billionaires back. How are you going to do it? You're going to have to run it like a Republican state, like Florida. But unfortunately, Florida is turning. So, that's my speech on Ocasio-Cortez today, and a warning, a warning, a warning. I can't believe how many people in Congress have their intelligence doesn't even peak over 80. We've got a lot of them. And then in the Senate, we've got a lot of do-nothings. We've got to take our country back. We have to bring it back to its ideals. Freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, free speech, which the Democrats don't want anymore. And they don't want individuality, even though everybody's making up their own gender. I don't get it. You want America then, if you want to be that different and have this unique gender. You need America. You don't need it to be socialist. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me again.